हाय एवरीवन, वेलकम टू मैथनोस्पीडिया। आज हम लोग लेक्चर 10 स्टार्ट करने जा रहे हैं। हम लोगों का जो कोर्स बेसिक टू एडवांस लेवल रियल एनालिसिस। टुडेज टॉपिक इज PYQs फ्रॉम द जैम एंड नेट फ्रॉम द टॉपिक सीरीज of real numbers. Our aim in this course is to just watch and qualify for iit-jam or csir-net. The full course divided into 4 parts, part 1, part 2, part 3 and part 4. Part 1 में हम लोग कवर करेंगे फंक्शन, रियल एनालिसिस, सीक्वेंस, सीरीज, कॉन्टिन्यूटी एंड डिफरेंशिएबिलिटी। पार्ट 2 पे कवर करेंगे रीमान इंटीग्रल, टोपोलॉजी ऑफ रियल नंबर्स। पार्ट 3 पे काउंटेबल सेट, अनकाउंटेबल सेट एंड पार्ट 4 पे सीक्वेंस ऑफ सीरीज ऑफ फंक्शन एंड फंक्शन ऑफ बाउंडेड वेरिएशन। पार्ट 1 एंड पार्ट 2 आर फॉर जैम एंड नेट एंड पार्ट 3 एंड पार्ट ओनली फॉर नेट। Scheduled timing of the lectures are Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday 7 PM आप लोगों को लेक्चर मिलेगा। अभी हम लोग पार्ट 1 पे है, जहाँ पे हम लोग फंक्शन, रियल नंबर सिस्टम, सीक्वेंस ऑलरेडी कवर कर चुके हैं। अभी हम लोग सीरीज पे है एंड आज हम लोग PYQ डिस्कस करेंगे। इन द लास्ट लेक्चर हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया था सम टेस्ट ऑफ कन्वर्जेंस ऑफ रियल नंबर्स ऑफ सीरीज। रेशियो टेस्ट क्या होता है, रूट टेस्ट क्या होता है, डिरिचलेट टेस्ट क्या होता है, लीबनिज टेस्ट क्या होता है, एबल टेस्ट क्या होता है। टुडे आज जो टॉपिक कवर होगा वो है कंपैरिजन टेस्ट क्या होता है, कंपैरिजन टेस्ट 2, एब्सोल्यूट कन्वर्जेंस, कंडीशनल कन्वर्जेंस एंड देन हम लोग टोटल 10 PYQ डिस्कस करेंगे फ्रॉम बोथ जैम एंड नेट। तो जो बुक हम लोगों ने रिकमेंड किया हुआ है वो है रियल एनालिसिस बाय स्कीमापा, मालिक अरोड़ा एंड बाटले एंड शॉबर्ट। आप लोग जो वीडियो में टॉपिक्स डिस्कस होगा वो आप लोग नोट डाउनलोड कर सकते हो हमारा वेबसाइट www.mathnospedia.in से। आप लोग फॉर एनी क्वेरी और डाउट्स आप लोग ईमेल कर सकते हो मुझे mail@mathnospedia.in पे। हम कोशिश करेंगे आप लोगों को रिप्लाई देने का। सो लेट स्टार्ट टुडेज लेक्चर। So we already know that the test of convergence are two types: absolute convergence test and non-absolute convergence test. In absolute convergence test, n has to be here n has to be greater than 0. And here n may be less than 0, may be greater than 0, which is known as non-absolute convergence test. So there are few types of test. The absolute convergence test are Cauchy condensation test, ratio test, root test. The non-absolute convergence test are Dirichlet test, Abel test. Now we will learn another absolute convergence test, which is the comparison test. Okay, now there are two types of comparison test: comparison test 1 and comparison test 2. Now let us see what is comparison test 1. The comparison test 1 says that if an and bn be two series of real numbers such that an bn greater than 0, such that an lesser or equal to bn for some n greater than k. ओके, ये फॉर ऑल n के लिए भी हो सकता है और सम n greater than k के लिए भी हो सकता है, कुछ भी हो सकता है। देन वी कैन से इफ bn converges then n is also convergent. Okay, now let us see an example. Let us see whether this series 1 by 3 to the power n plus 2 is convergent or not. Recall that we can write to the power n plus 2 is greater than 3 to the power n, okay, for all n. Then 1 by 3 to the power n plus 2 is less than 1 by 3 to the power n, okay, for all n. Now this series, if you consider Bn as 1 by 3 to the power n, this is Bn is equal to 1 by 3 to the power n. Then this series is GP series. We know that GP series here r is equal to 1 by 3 less than 1. Therefore Bn convergent, and hence by comparison test we can say that 1 by 3 to the power n plus 2 is also convergent by comparison test. Now let us see what is comparison test 2. The comparison test 2 says that if n and bn be two series with n, bn greater than 0 and lim an by bn is equal to l greater than 0, then bn converges imply an is also convergent, and if bn diverges then an also diverges. Okay, so if the limit exists and greater than 0, obviously as an and bn are both greater than 0, so limit can be 0 or greater than 0. So if the limit is greater than 0, then we can say bn converges implies an convergent and bn diverges implies an divergent. Let us see an example. Observe this series. This series sin 1 by n. Observe that each of its term are greater than 0. इसका हर टर्म greater than 0 है. क्यों? क्योंकि 1 0 less than 1 by n less than 1 less or equal to 1, then sin 0 less than sin 1 by n less than sin 1. And if you observe the graph of sin 1 by n, the graph 0 and here is 1, 0 and 1 के बीच में sin का ग्राफ ऐसा होता है increasing, so that's why we can take this. So 0 less than sin 1 by n less or equal to sin 1. So we can say that sin 1 by n are greater than 0. That's why we can apply the absolute convergence test of limit comparison test. So let us suppose bn is equal to 1 by n. Okay. Then lim n tends to infinity sin 1 by n by 1 by n is equal to, this is 1, as we know that lim x tends to 0 sin x by x is equal to 1. So here if you consider n is equal to 1 by x, then here lim x tends to 0 will be sin x by x and it is 1. Okay, just assume 1 by n is equal to x, then you will get the limit is 1, which is greater than 0. Now as the bn series 1 by n is divergent, so by comparison test we can say that this series also divergent. By limit comparison test this is also divergent. Okay. Now an important result says that if an and bn be any two sequence such that the mod of n plus 1 minus n lesser equal to Bn for all n, then we can say that if the series of Bn, the term Bn, if you consider the series of Bn converges, then the sequence will also convergent. The n sequence will convergent. So if Bn converges, then that will imply the sequence n also convergent. Okay. Now, what is absolute convergent? The absolute convergence says that for any series an, if the modular series mod an convergent, then we will say the series an is absolutely convergent. Okay. If the modular series converges, then we will say it is an absolute convergent series. The important things to note that every absolute convergent series is also convergent. That means an will obviously a convergent series whenever the mod an convergent. Okay. So if mod an convergent, then an obviously is a convergent series. So here both, in the case of absolute convergence, both an and mod an are convergent. Okay, this is very important result. Now what is conditional convergent? Conditional convergent क्या होता है? For any series an, if absolute value series mod an is convergent but the original series an is not convergent, then we call an is a conditional convergent. Okay, so if mod n is convergent but an is divergent, in that case we will say this is an conditional convergent. Okay, let us see an example. For the absolute convergent series, you can take the series as -1 to the power n by n square. Okay, observe that by alternating series test we can say this series an is convergent. Also, if you take the modulus -1 to the power n by n square, this will be nothing but 1 by n square, which is a p series, p greater than 1, which is true, and it is again convergent. So here both an and mod an are convergent. That's why this series is absolutely convergent series. Now let us see an conditional convergent example. If you consider the series -1 to the power n by n, then by alternating series test we know that this series is convergent. Okay, but if you take the modulus, then it will have 1 by n, which is divergent. So this series is conditionally convergent. Okay, that's it. Now let us start the PYQs on the last year. The first question is from NET 2019 December. Let n be a fixed number, then the series -1 to the power m by m, n greater equal to n क्या होगा? अभी हम लोगों ने देखा दिस इज एन ऑल्टरनेटिंग सीरीज विच इज कॉन्वर्जेंट. यहाँ पर m greater equal to n का मीनिंग है कि आफ्टर ए सर्टेन स्टेज, आफ्टर ए फाइनाइट नंबर ऑफ टर्म n, the series look like this. Okay, so remember that this means the series is after n, the series is, this is the tail of the series. So remember that a series is convergent if and only if its tail is also convergent. Okay, अगर सीरीज कन्वर्जेंट होगा तो उसका टेल भी कन्वर्जेंट होगा, और अगर टेल कन्वर्जेंट होगा तो सीरीज भी कन्वर्जेंट होगा। जो पहले फाइनाइट नंबर ऑफ टर्म्स को आप निकाल दो तो जो रिमेनिंग टर्म होगा n+1 n+2 वही इसका टेल होता है डॉट डॉट टू इन्फिनिटी। ओके, आफ्टर ए फाइनाइट number of terms, the remaining terms will constitute the tail of the series, and if the tail of the series is convergent, then the original series is also convergent, and if the original series is convergent, then tail is also convergent. So here, as we know that the original series -1 to the power n by n is convergent, so its tail, which is the given series n after certain finite number of term, is also convergent. That's why this series is convergent, and hence this is the correct option. Okay, did you get it? Okay, the next question is from JAM 2023, which says that an is equal to sin 1 by n cube and bn is equal to sin 1 by n. then पूछा है कि an and bn convergent होगा कि नहीं। Okay, bn whether it is convergent or not. Now if you take for an take a series 1 by n cube, then observe that limit n tends to infinity sin 1 by n cube by n cube 1 by n cube is equal to again 1 by the similar we have already seen in the previous slide that lim x tends to 0 sin x by x is equal to 1. So by using this result we can say that this limit is also 1, which is greater than 0. So as the series Cn is convergent for p series p greater than 1, where p is equal to 3 greater than 1. So as Cn is convergent, so we can say that this series n is also convergent. Okay, so n is convergent. Now for bn, we have already seen this series is divergent. Here you have to take dn is equal to 1 by n. So by again comparison series test, we can say the series bn is divergent. So this series is not convergent. So the correct option is B. n is convergent but bn is not. Now from JAM 2022, it is says that n is equal to 3 to the power n plus 3 by 5 to the power n minus 5, and bn is equal to 1 by 1 plus n squared to the power 1 by 4. पूछा है an bn convergent होगा कि नहीं। So here for n, let us suppose Cn is equal to 3 to the power n by 5 to the power n. Then lim n tends to infinity an by Cn क्या होगा? This will be limit n tends to infinity 3 to the power n plus 3 by 5 to the power n minus 5, 5 to the power n by 3 to the power n, which if you simplify, this will give you lim n tends to infinity 1 plus 3 by 3 to the power n by 1 minus 5 by 5 to the power n. Okay, now this will goes to 0 and this will also goes to 0. So as a whole you will get 1, which is greater than 0. Now observe that this series Cn is a GP series with R is equal to 3 by 5, which is less than 1. So this is convergent, and hence by comparison test, limit comparison test, series An is also convergent. Okay, now for Bn, if you simplify that term n square to the power 1 by 4, what you will get? सिर्फ n स्क्वायर को अगर आप 1 by 4 करोगे तो ये आ जाएगा n to the power half. Okay, so this you can compare this dn with dn is equal to 1 by root n. Okay, and if you consider the limit lim n tends to infinity bn by dn, then you will get a finite value. Please do it yourself, a finite value which is greater than 0. So again, as this series is a p series, p is equal to half less than 1, so this series dn is divergent. So by comparison test, the series dn is also divergent. That's why an is convergent but dn is divergent. So C is the correct option. Okay, let us see the next problem. This is NET 2023 June का ये क्वेश्चन बोला है the series an where an is equal to -1 to the power n plus 1 root over n plus 1 minus root n, then which of the following are correct? n convergent होगा कि नहीं and conditional convergent होगा कि नहीं पूछा है. Now if you simplify this, you will get -1 to the power n plus 1. If you multiply both denominator and numerator by root over n plus 1 plus root n, then you will get n plus 1 root over a स्क्वायर माइनस बी स्क्वायर फॉर्मूला यूज करके आप देख सकते हो, ये मिल जाएगा root over n plus 1 plus root n. Then this will give you -1 to the power n plus 1 minus n by root over n plus 1 plus root n. So ultimately you will get -1 to the power n plus 1 by root over n plus 1 plus root n. Okay, this is what you get. Now this series -1 to the power n plus 1 by root over n plus 1 plus root n, this is an alternating series because here this and this 1 by root over n plus 1 plus root n is monotonically decreasing. Okay, and tends to 0. So this is an alternating series. So by alternating series test, we can say that this series is convergent. But if you take mod of this series, you will get this series 1 by root over n plus 1 plus root n, which is actually divergent, and hence by conditional test we can say that the series is conditionally convergent. So third option is the correct option. Okay, hope you get it. The next question is from JAM 2020, which says that if S is the sum of the series AN, then PN का sum क्या होगा? ये convergent होगा and इसका sum क्या होगा और divergent होगा. Now here we know that sum is the limit of the nth partial sum of any series. So here lim n tends to infinity Sn is equal to S is given, where Sn is the nth partial sum of An. Okay, नाउ Tn का nth पार्शियल सम क्या होगा? T1 प्लस T2 प्लस डॉट 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 प्लस Tn। अगर आप कैलकुलेट करोगे तो आएगा A1 प्लस A2 प्लस A3 फॉर T1, देन फॉर T2 आएगा A2 प्लस A3 प्लस A4, उसके बाद T3 के लिए आएगा A3 प्लस A4 प्लस A5 प्लस डॉट 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 चलता रहेगा, एंड उसके बाद आएगा n-1 के लिए आएगा an-1, Tn-1 के लिए आएगा an-1 -1 प्लस an प्लस 1, एंड आखिर में Tn के लिए आएगा प्लस an प्लस 1 प्लस an प्लस 2. So if you adjust this, you will get ultimately A1 plus here A2 here A2 plus 2A2 प्लस A3 आएगा 3, उसके बाद हर टर्म 3 आएगा 3A3 प्लस 3A4 प्लस डॉट 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 प्लस आखिर में आएगा 3an एंड प्लस an plus 1 plus an plus 2. Okay. थ्री एन प्लस 1 भी आएगा. So if you take common 3, now if you adjust this, you will get here 3a1 plus 3a2 plus dot 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 plus 3an plus 3an plus 1 प्लस an प्लस 2, क्योंकि यहाँ पे 2a1 एक्स्ट्रा लिया है तो आपको माइनस 2a1 करना पड़ेगा एंड माइनस a2 भी करना पड़ेगा फॉर दिस. ओके, सो नाउ द दिस लिमिट 3an will goes to 3as because we know that this limit is lim n tends to infinity a1 plus dot 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 plus an is equal to s. So this will be s and this will goes to 0 because we know if this sum is n, the nth term lim an is equal to 0. So an plus 1 भी 0 पे जाएगा and an plus 2 भी 0 पे जाएगा, तो ये दोनों टर्म 0 पे चला जाएगा लिमिट, and hence you will get the limit at 3s minus 2a1 minus a2. Okay, so D is the correct option. Okay, now let us see this. This is 2022 jam. We have to check for which value of m and p the given series is convergent or divergent. Now here simply consider this series an is equal to n to the power m into 1 plus 1 by n to the power p, and bn is equal to 1 by n to the power m. Then lim an by bn is equal to, you will get 1 by 1 plus n to the power p. Okay, now as n tends to infinity, this will goes to 1 plus 1 by 0 is equal to 1, which is greater than 0. Okay, so if Bn converges, then that will imply by comparison test n is also convergent. Now we know that the series Bn is a p series for p is equal to m greater than 1 is convergent. So when m greater than 1, then Bn is convergent and hence An is also convergent. So that's why whenever m greater than 1, the given series is convergent. So A is the correct option. ओके, बाकी सारे जो ऑप्शन है वो सिर्फ कंफ्यूज करने के लिए दिया है और कुछ नहीं. Now here given An and Bn two sequences such that the difference between nth term are 1 by 2 to the power n and 1 by root n. Now recall the important theorem which says that if for any sequence an and bn, if an plus 1 minus an is not equal to 1 by bn, then if bn is convergent, then the sequence n is convergent. Here observe that 1 by 2 to the power n is a GP series with r is equal to half less than 1 and hence bn is convergent, so an is also convergent. But here 1 by root n is n to the power half is a p series, p is equal to half less than 1, so here the series is divergent and hence bn is divergent. That's why an is convergent but bn is divergent. So the correct option is, now we know that if a series is convergent, then this is Cauchy, if and only if Cauchy, so an will be Cauchy and bn is not Cauchy, so B is the correct option. Okay, this is very easy. Now the next question is, we have to calculate the sum of this series. This is JAM 2022 question. How can we find the sum of this series? This series is actually alternating series. Okay, let us see the nth term, 1 by 4n minus 3 into 4n plus 1. Always remember this type of series 4n and 4n, we can write the numerator as 4n plus 1 minus 4n minus 3, which is 4n minus 3 4n plus 1. Okay, so by 4 and 4 cancel हो जाएगा, so here you will get 4, so you have to take 1 by 4. Okay, now if you simplify, you will get 1 by 4n minus 3 by minus 1 by 4n plus 1. This is A1. So what will be the series? If you expand, the series will be A1 plus A2 plus dot 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 ऐसे चलेगा. So you will get 1 by 4 as common, and for n is equal to 1, this is 4 minus 3 1, then minus 1 by 5. For n is equal to 2, we will get plus 1 by 5 minus 1 by 9. ऐसे ही चलता रहेगा, इसके बाद 1 by 9 आएगा, माइनस डॉट 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 चलता रहेगा. सो इफ़ यू सी दैट 1 by 5 कैंसिल आउट हो जाएगा, 1 by 9 कैंसिल आउट हो जाएगा, only remaining will be 1. So as a whole you will get 1 by 4 is the sum. So here 1 by 4 or 0.25 is the correct option. Okay. नाउ जैम 2021 का ये वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है, बहुत ही हार्ड क्वेश्चन है ये। हम लोग को चेक करना पड़ेगा बोथ सीरीज कन्वर्जेंट और डाइवर्जेंट। द फर्स्ट सीरीज इज वेरी इजी विच इज गिवन दैट लिमिट n into n to the power 1 by n if you simplify this. Then if you take here bn is equal to 1 by n, then you will get lim an by bn as 1 by n to the power 1 by n. As we know that n to the power 1 by n goes to 1, this will give you 1 which is greater than 0. So as bn is divergent, the given series n is also divergent. Okay, this is divergence. Now what about the second series? The second series term is n is equal to 1 by n square minus n to the power 1 by n. Okay, so here if you simplify, you will get this n to the power 1 by n by n square. Okay, now if you consider the limit lim n tends to infinity an, this will give you n to the power 1 by n lim by n square. Now this series actually if you observe this limit, the numerator will go more faster to infinity than the denominator. Okay, so here the limit will goes to infinity, so the limit not is equal to 0. So for by divergent test we can say that this series is also divergent. Okay, so that's why both the series are divergent, so B is the correct option. Okay, now the last question is from NET 2022 September. The question asks that this series will convergent for which value is not convergent for which value of A, B and C. Now in that case, first observe the second and third option A is equal to 1. So for A is equal to 1, ये जो सीरीज है बहुत सिंपल हो जाएगा. सो कंसिडर फर्स्ट A is equal to 1. इस केस में क्या होगा, ठीक है. सो फॉर A is equal to 1, the series will become 1 by n to the power b log n to the power c. Okay, we already know that this series, I already know that the series 1 by n log n to the power p is convergent for p greater than 1. So simply using this result you can say that c has to be greater than 1. Okay, and b can be greater or equal to 1. Okay, so whenever c greater than 1, the series is convergent. Okay, so here the only case when this is not convergent, when c is less than 1. Okay, so here two cases possible, c less than 1 and c greater than 0. Now observe that if you take a is equal to -1, and b is equal to 0. So what you will get? Minus 1 to the power n, okay, and b is equal to 0 log n to the power c. Okay, now again by alternating series test, this series is convergent. Okay, so this is also not correct. So the correct option is this. Third option is the correct option. So that's it for now today. We have to stop now. In the next lecture we will start the limit of function. The limit and continuity will be start on the next lecture. So till then, goodbye.